The first time Marissa Cole called me selfish, she was standing in the school gym under a banner I had spent 6 hours hanging for her. She had one hand on her hip, a PTA clipboard tucked under her arm, and her 8-year-old son Evan sitting on the floor beside my folding table, reading a book I had bought with my own money. Around us, parents were taping blue and yellow streamers to the basketball hoops, arranging raffle baskets, and pretending not to listen. "You know what your problem is, Claire?" Marissa said, loud enough for the moms at the bake sale table to hear. "You like being needed until people actually need you." I was holding a box of donated paperbacks against my chest. My volunteer badge was still clipped to my sweater. Claire Mason. Library helper. Not staff. Not caregiver. Not employee. Helper. That word would matter later. I looked at Marissa and said, "I told you last week I can't pick Evan up after school anymore." Her smile tightened. "It's 1 hour. You sit in the library anyway." "I sit in the library because I volunteer there on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Not every day." Evan looked up from his book, his eyes moving between us. That was when Marissa lowered her voice, but not enough. "Claire, don't make this weird. You don't have kids. You don't have a husband waiting at home. You don't have to rush to soccer or dinner or bath time. Some of us are actually drowning." The gym went quiet in that specific way public rooms go quiet when everyone hears something they wish they hadn't. I felt the box of books pressing into my ribs. Marissa looked past me at the folding tables. "And honestly, the least you can do is help the school community that gives you a place to feel useful." Useful. That was the second word that would matter later. I had been volunteering at Oakridge Elementary for 4 years by then. The school was 10 minutes from my apartment in Maple Hollow, Ohio, a tidy suburb with old maple trees, brick ranch homes, and enough PTA committees to run a small government. I did not have a child at Oakridge. I had started volunteering there because my mother had been the school librarian before she died. Linda Mason had run that library for 29 years. She knew which kids needed books about dragons because they were lonely, which kids needed dog stories because their parents were divorcing, and which kids pretended to hate reading because no one had ever waited long enough for them to sound out a sentence. When I was little, I used to sit under her desk after school while she stamped due dates into the back of picture books. On Fridays, she brought yellow tulips from the grocery store and put them in a chipped blue vase beside the circulation desk. "A library should feel alive," she used to say. "Flowers remind people this place is breathing." When she got sick, she still worried about the library. Not about the lesson plans or the catalog system. About the kids. "Don't let them turn it into a storage room," she told me once from her hospital bed. "Children need somewhere quiet where they're still seen." After her funeral, I went back to Oakridge to pick up a box of her things. Her cardigan was still hanging behind the office door. Her reading glasses were in the top drawer. The blue vase was empty beside the computer. I remember standing in that room, unable to breathe, until Denise Walker from the front office found me. "You can stay a while," Denise said. So I did. At first, I shelved books on Thursday afternoons. Then I helped with reading night. Then I fixed torn paperbacks with clear tape. Then I stayed after school to help reluctant readers sound out sentences. Kids started waving at me in the grocery store. Teachers started leaving stacks of returned books on the library cart because Claire will know where these go. I did know. I liked knowing. I liked being useful when useful meant chosen, not used. Then Marissa Cole became PTA president. Marissa had the kind of polished energy that made tired people feel guilty. Her hair always looked freshly blown out, her car was always clean, her planner had color-coded tabs, and she could say "we're all in this together" in a way that somehow meant "you're about to do something for me." At first, I liked her. Everyone did. She brought coffee for teachers, organized coat drives, got local businesses to donate gift cards for raffles. She knew every parent's name and every child's allergy. She walked through the school like she owned half the bricks. Her son Evan was a sweet, quiet second grader who loved books about space. His father, Ryan, was a firefighter in the next county and worked long shifts. Marissa told everyone that between PTA, her part-time consulting job, and Evan's schedule, she was stretched thin. I believed her. The first favor was simple. "Claire, can you sit with Evan for 20 minutes after reading night? I have to count cash boxes with Principal Howard." I said yes. Then it was, "Can you walk Evan to the pickup door? I'm stuck on a donor call." Yes. Then, "Can you keep an eye on him while I run to Office Max for poster board?" Yes. Then, "Can you grab him from the after-school room? The director knows you. I'll be there by 4:30. I should have said no the first time she used the word grab, like Evan was a bag she had forgotten. But Evan would look up from his book and smile when he saw me. "Miss Claire, I found a new planet book." So I stayed. By October, I was picking Evan up from the after-school room twice a week. By November, I was helping him with his reading log on Mondays while Marissa met with the fundraising committee. By December, I had bought him gloves because he came to the library one day with red fingers and said he left his pair at his dad's house. Marissa never asked if I minded. She just adjusted the routine around my yes. The requests became texts. "Running late. Can you get E? Committee call. He's with you, right? Could you keep him until 5? You're a lifesaver." Then, sometime after winter break, she stopped using question marks. I didn't notice that until later. What I noticed first was money. Not because I was keeping score, but because my bank account forced me to. I worked full-time in a dental billing office, processing insurance claims for people who were already angry before they called. My paycheck covered rent, car insurance, groceries, my mother's old storage unit, and not much else. I was not poor, but I was one broken transmission away from becoming afraid. Still, I kept buying things for Oakridge because schools always needed something. Gold star stickers. Juice boxes. Poster board. Plastic tablecloths. Extra glue sticks. Reading prizes from the dollar bin. At first, I turned in receipts. The PTA treasurer reimbursed me within 2 weeks. Then Marissa said, "Oh, just hold those until after the spring fundraiser. We're trying to keep the February budget clean." That sounded official enough to be true. So I held the receipts. By March, I had $287.43 in school supplies sitting in a blue envelope on my kitchen counter. By April, it was $413.18. The spring fundraiser was supposed to be Marissa's masterpiece. Oakridge had an old playground that flooded every time it rained, and Marissa wanted to raise enough money for new drainage and accessible equipment. The event was called Spring into Reading. There would be a book fair, raffle baskets, student artwork, cupcakes, a silent auction, and a recognition ceremony for volunteers. Marissa loved recognition ceremonies. She said recognition built community. She also chose who got recognized. The week before the fundraiser, she texted me at 9:12 on a Sunday night. "Need you every day this week. Evan will stay with you after school while I prep gym. Also, can you make the reading prize bags? 120 total. You're the only one who does them right." I stared at the message for a long time. Every day. Not can you. Need you. I typed, "I can do Tuesday and Thursday like usual, but I can't do every day." 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. Appeared again. Then, "Claire, this is the biggest event of the year." I know. I just can't be there every day. Her response came 30 seconds later. Must be nice to have that option. I almost apologized. My thumb hovered over the keyboard, ready to explain that my boss had asked me to stay late because 2 billing coordinators were out sick, that my apartment was a mess, that I had not had a real evening to myself in weeks. Then I stopped. Why was I preparing a defense for not donating every open hour of my life? I wrote, "I'll see you Tuesday." Tuesday was the gym confrontation. Marissa had expected me Monday. She had expected me to pick Evan up, expected me to stuff prize bags, expected me to stay until the custodian turned off the lights. When I did not, she apparently had to bring Evan to a donor meeting at the local credit union, and he spilled hot chocolate on her folder. By the time I walked into the gym Tuesday afternoon, she was waiting. That was when she called me selfish. That was when she said I had no husband, no kids, no real reason not to help. That was when something inside me shifted. Not broke. Shifted. Like a bookshelf being pushed away from a hidden door. I put the box of books on the table. "I'm going home," I said. Marissa blinked. "Excuse me?" I said I'm going home. "The fundraiser is in 4 days." "I know." "You committed." "No," I said. "I helped." She gave a small laugh, the kind people use when they want witnesses to think you're being unreasonable. "Claire, don't be dramatic." I unclipped the volunteer badge from my sweater and set it on top of the box. Evan stood up slowly. "Miss Claire?" That nearly got me. I looked at him. "You're okay, buddy. Your mom's right here." Marissa's face changed. Just for a second. Not fear exactly. More like irritation that I had remembered whose child he was. I walked out of the gym with every adult in the room pretending to be busy. In the parking lot, I sat in my car with both hands on the steering wheel and cried for 7 minutes. Then I wiped my face, drove home, and put the blue envelope of receipts in a kitchen drawer. I did not go back Wednesday. At 3:11, Marissa texted. "Evan is asking where you are." I did not answer. At 3:48. "You should have given me more notice if you were going to disrupt his routine." At 5:02. "This is not about me. This is about a child who trusts you." I put my phone in the drawer with the receipts. Thursday morning, Principal Howard called my cell. Principal Howard was a careful man with tired eyes and a voice made for morning announcements. He had been principal at Oakridge for 12 years and knew how to sound neutral even when he had already decided something. "Claire," he said, "I wanted to check in. Marissa tells me there's been some tension around volunteer responsibilities." Volunteer responsibilities. That phrase landed badly. "What did she tell you?" He cleared his throat. "She said you abruptly withdrew from several commitments this week and that it created some confusion with after-school coverage." "After-school coverage for whom?" A pause. "For Evan." "Evan is Marissa's son." "Yes, of course. I'm not his caregiver." Another pause, longer this time. "No one is suggesting you are." "Then why is my absence being discussed like I failed to report for a shift?" Principal Howard sighed softly. "Claire, no one wants conflict. You've been a wonderful presence in the library. But with the fundraiser so close, emotions are high. Perhaps it would be best if you took a short break from volunteering until after the event." I sat at my kitchen table and stared at the wall above the toaster. "A break," I said. "Just to let things settle." "Am I being removed from the volunteer list?" No. Not removed. Just paused. Paused. Another word that would matter later. I said, "Please send that to me in writing." He sounded surprised. "I'm sorry? If I'm being asked not to volunteer, I'd like it in writing." "Well, I wouldn't phrase it that way." "How would you phrase it?" Silence. Then he said, "I'll send an email." He did. It arrived 20 minutes later. "Claire. Given the current confusion regarding volunteer scheduling and boundaries, we think it is best for you to pause your volunteer activities at Oakridge Elementary until after the Spring Into Reading fundraiser. We appreciate your support and will reconnect soon. Thank you. Mark Howard." I read it twice. Then I created a folder on my laptop called Oakridge. I saved the email there. That was the first document. The second was Marissa's text saying, "You don't have kids. You don't understand what it means when people depend on you." The third was a screenshot of her saying, "Evan will stay with you after school while I prep gym." The fourth was the photo I took of my blue envelope of receipts. I did not know yet what I was building. I only knew I was done letting everyone else write the record. Friday night, the fundraiser happened without me. I did not go. I made pasta, washed my sheets, and tried not to check Facebook. At 8:37, Gwen Parker texted me. Gwen had twin daughters in 3rd grade and volunteered at the bake sale table. We were friendly in the way school volunteers are friendly when they have stacked folding chairs together at 9 p.m. "Hey. Are you okay? People are saying you walked out and left Marissa without childcare this week." I stared at the text, feeling my pulse move into my throat. I typed, "I did not leave anyone without childcare. Evan is Marissa's child. I was never hired, paid, or formally scheduled to watch him. I had been helping as a volunteer, and I stopped after Marissa insulted me in the gym." Gwen replied 3 minutes later. "Oh. That is not how she told it." I almost asked how she told it, but I already knew enough. Saturday morning, I turned on my phone to 9 unread messages. 2 from Marissa. 1 from Principal Howard reminding me that we would revisit my volunteer status next week. 3 from parents I barely knew, saying they hoped I understood how hard Marissa worked. 1 from an unknown number that said, "People without kids always think school communities run on magic." And 2 from Gwen. The first said, "I'm sorry. I asked around. You've been doing way more than people realized." The second said, "You need to see something." Attached was a photo from the volunteer appreciation table at the fundraiser. There were small cards placed beside little potted plants. Each had a volunteer's name and a thank you message. Gwen's card said, "Thank you, Gwen Parker, for bake sale coordination." Another said, "Thank you, Denise Walker, for office support." Mine said, "Thank you, Claire Mason, for flexible childcare assistance." Childcare assistance. Not library. Not reading support. Childcare. I zoomed in until the words blurred. Then I saved the photo in the Oakridge folder. That should have been the moment I called Marissa and demanded an explanation. Instead, I sat very still. My mother used to say that when people show you a strange label, don't tear it off right away. First, find out who put it there. So I waited. On Monday, I went to work and processed dental insurance claims for 8 hours with my phone face down beside my keyboard. At lunch, I opened my blue envelope and added the receipts into a spreadsheet. Date. Store. Item. Amount. Purpose. The total was $413.18. At 5:40, as I was leaving the office, Marissa texted. "Can you meet me at school? We need to clean this up before Principal Howard makes it bigger." I stared at the words. Clean this up. Not apologize. Not explain. Clean. I replied, "What does that mean?" She answered almost instantly. "It means you need to stop acting like I did something to you. I have a form you can sign saying the childcare language was just informal PTA wording and there was no issue." My hand tightened around my phone. "What form?" She sent a photo. It was a single page, printed on school letterhead, though something about the spacing looked off. I could only see the top half, but the title was clear. Volunteer Clarification Statement. The visible paragraph said, "I, Claire Mason, acknowledge that I voluntarily provided flexible support to the Cole family and Oakridge PTA events, and that any references to childcare, caregiver support, or after-school assistance were informal descriptions of volunteer service. I do not believe any misrepresentation occurred." I read the paragraph 3 times. Then I wrote, "I'm not signing that." She replied, "Don't be stupid." Then, 30 seconds later, she deleted it. But not before I took a screenshot. The next text was softer. "Claire, I'm trying to protect both of us." I saved that too. That evening, I drove to Oakridge. Not to meet Marissa. To pick up a box of my mother's old bookmarks that I had left in the library office months earlier. The school was mostly empty. Basketball practice echoed from the gym. The front office lights were on, and Denise Walker sat at her desk with reading glasses low on her nose, sorting forms into color-coded trays. Denise had worked at Oakridge longer than anyone. She knew every custody arrangement, every late pickup parent, every child who needed medication at noon, every teacher who forgot to submit attendance. She wore cardigans with holiday pins and had the calm authority of a woman who could stop a school from collapsing with one phone call. She looked up when I walked in. "Claire," she said softly. "I wasn't sure we'd see you this week. I'm just here to pick up a box from the library." Her face changed in a way I could not read. "Did Mark know you were coming?" "I'm not going into classrooms. Just the library office." She stood. "I'll walk with you." That was unusual. As we walked down the hallway, children's artwork lined the walls. Paper frogs. Spring poems. A bulletin board that said "Kindness grows here" in crooked letters. Denise unlocked the library door. The room smelled like old paper and lemon cleaner. My mother's portrait still hung behind the circulation desk with a small brass plaque beneath it. Linda Mason, librarian, 1989 to 2018. The blue vase was there too. Empty. I had brought tulips for it every Friday for almost 3 years. Yellow ones, like my mother used to. I had stopped the week Marissa told me I needed to be useful. The box was in the office, exactly where I had left it. As I picked it up, I noticed a paper sticking out from under a stack of laminated reading certificates on the side table. I would not have looked twice, except my name was on it. Claire Mason. The rest of the page was mostly covered, but beside my name I could see one word. Provider. My body went cold. I looked at Denise. Her face told me she had seen where my eyes had landed. "Claire," she said quietly. "What is that?" She stepped closer and slid the certificates over the paper. "I shouldn't have left that out." "What is that?" She looked toward the hallway, then closed the office door. "I need to ask you something first." I stood there with my mother's box in my hands. "Were you ever officially hired to provide care for Evan Cole?" "No." "Were you paid by Marissa Cole or the PTA for after-school supervision?" "No." "Did you sign any district caregiver verification paperwork?" I set the box down. "What paperwork?" Denise pressed her lips together. "I process district forms before they go downtown," she said. "Mostly transportation, lunch assistance, special program stipends. Last month, a parent support stipend packet came through for Marissa. It listed you as Evan's after-school caregiver." I did not understand the words at first. Or maybe I understood them too well and my mind refused to let them in. "What does that mean?" "It means she reported that she was paying you for childcare support related to PTA and school activity hours." "Paying me?" Denise nodded once. "How much?" "I don't remember the exact amount." "Denise." Her voice dropped. $400 a month." The library office seemed to tilt. "For how long?" I only saw the renewal packet. It referenced prior approval from September. September. 7 months. I sat down in my mother's old chair. Denise looked miserable. "There was a caregiver verification page with your name." "I never signed anything." "That's why I asked." I looked at the covered paper. "Can I see it?" She closed her eyes for 1 second. "I can't give you district records from a file that isn't yours. My name is on it. That's why you can request it." She opened a drawer, took out a sticky note, and wrote an email address on it. District Compliance Office. Martin Alvarez. She slid it across the desk. "Ask for any documents identifying you as a caregiver, vendor, contractor, or paid support provider." I folded the sticky note and put it in my pocket. "Thank you," I said. Denise looked at my mother's portrait. Your mom would have been furious. I almost laughed. It came out like a breath. Yes, I said. She would have. That night, I sent the email. Dear Mr. Alvarez. My name is Claire Mason. I am an unpaid volunteer at Oakridge Elementary. I recently became aware that district paperwork may identify me as a paid caregiver or support provider for a student. I have never been employed, paid, contracted, or authorized in that role. Please provide copies of any district forms, stipend applications, caregiver verification pages, vendor records, or related documents containing my name. Thank you. Claire Mason. I attached a copy of my driver's license because the district website said identification was required for records involving personal information. Then I waited. Marissa texted me the next morning. I heard you went to the school. I did not answer. Then. Claire, you need to stop making this bigger than it is. I saved the screenshot. Then. If you damage my reputation over a misunderstanding, I will make sure everyone knows exactly how unstable you've been. I saved that too. That afternoon, Principal Howard emailed. Claire. It has come to my attention that you visited the building yesterday evening. While we value your past support, please coordinate any future visits through the front office until we have clarified volunteer expectations. Thank you. Mark Howard. I saved that too. Then Gwen sent me a screenshot from the Oakridge Parents Facebook group. Marissa had posted at 7:14 that morning. Some people love being praised for helping until the work becomes inconvenient. Parent burnout is real. Please remember that children notice when adults suddenly disappear. She did not use my name. She did not need to. Under the post, one parent wrote, volunteers should never create emotional dependence with kids if they can't be consistent. Another wrote, this is why boundaries matter with non-parent volunteers. Another wrote, poor Evan. I stared at the words until they stopped looking like English. Non-parent volunteers. Emotional dependence. Poor Evan. I took screenshots. Not because I wanted to fight in the comments. Because once again, other people were writing the record. By Friday, Mr. Alvarez replied. Ms. Mason. We have located records containing your name. Due to the nature of your concern, I would like to schedule a meeting. Are you available Monday at 10 a.m. at the district office? Regards. Martin Alvarez. District Compliance Officer. I read the email 3 times. Records. Not record. Records. I took Monday morning off work and drove downtown with a folder on the passenger seat. Inside were my printed screenshots, the photo of the volunteer appreciation card, my receipt spreadsheet, Principal Howard's pause email, Marissa's proposed volunteer clarification statement, and a copy of my work schedule from September through April. I did not know what Mr. Alvarez would need, but I had learned from dental billing that the person with the organized paperwork usually survived the conversation. The district office was a flat brick building near the high school football stadium. The lobby had fake plants, a vending machine, and framed photos of smiling students. Mr. Alvarez met me at the front desk. He was in his 50s, with silver hair, a navy tie, and the calm expression of someone who had seen adults behave badly in every possible way. Ms. Mason, he said. Thank you for coming. His office was small and neat. He offered me water. I declined. My hands were too cold to hold a bottle. He sat across from me and opened a file. Before we begin, I want to confirm. Have you ever provided paid childcare services for Marissa Cole? No. Have you ever received payment from Mrs. Cole for supervising her son Evan? No. Have you ever signed a caregiver verification form for district parent support funds? No. Have you ever given Mrs. Cole permission to sign your name? No. He nodded and pulled out a copy of a form. Even upside down, I recognized my name. Claire Mason. Caregiver/provider. Payment amount, $400 monthly. Relationship to student, after-school care provider. Signature line. My name was written there in blue ink. Not my signature. Someone had tried to imitate the C, but the rest was wrong. Too round. Too careful. My real signature was fast and ugly because I signed insurance appeals all day. Mr. Alvarez turned the page toward me. Is this your signature? No. Are you certain? I almost smiled. I sign my name 50 times a day at work. That is not my signature. He pulled out another page. September. Another signature. October. November. December. January. February. March. 7 forms. 7 signatures. 7 lies wearing my name. For a moment, I could not speak. Mr. Alvarez did not rush me. When I finally found my voice, I said, "Where did the money go?" The stipend was issued to Mrs. Cole as reimbursement for reported caregiver payments. So she told the district she paid me, and the district paid her back? That is the structure of this specific support program, yes. She never paid me. I understand. No, I said, and my voice cracked for the first time. I don't think you do. She told people I abandoned her child. She told parents I was unreliable. She got me pushed out of the library. And the whole time she was using my name to collect money for care I was giving for free. Mr. Alvarez folded his hands. Ms. Mason, I am going to open a formal review. What happens now? We verify records. We interview relevant staff. We compare building access logs, volunteer sign-ins, payment statements, and communications. I will also need anything you have that helps establish whether this was volunteer support versus paid childcare. I almost laughed. I have a folder. For the first time, his expression shifted slightly. Good, he said. That helps. I gave him everything. Texts from Marissa. Receipts. The fundraiser card. Principal Howard's email. The parent group screenshots. The unsigned statement Marissa wanted me to sign. My work schedule. I also gave him something I had almost not brought, a printed screenshot of Marissa's message from January. You're the only person I can count on because you don't have your own family chaos. Mr. Alvarez read it, then looked up. May I keep copies? Yes. He made copies himself. At the end of the meeting, he said, "Please do not discuss this directly with Mrs. Cole while the review is pending." That won't be a problem. In the parking lot, I sat in my car and called my boss to say I would be back after lunch. Then I cried again. Not because I was sad. Because for 7 months, Marissa had looked me in the face while stealing from a program meant to help parents who needed support, and somehow she had still made me feel guilty for wanting one evening to myself. 2 days later, Marissa called me 17 times. I did not answer. Then she left a voicemail. Her voice was bright, almost friendly. Claire, hi. I think there's been some kind of confusion with district paperwork. Before you go making accusations, you should call me. This is really something we can clear up between us. I don't know what Denise told you, but she doesn't understand how these forms work. Call me back. I saved the voicemail. 10 minutes later, another. This one was not bright. You have no idea what you're doing. That stipend helps me stay involved at the school. It helps Evan. It helps everyone. You're going to hurt a lot of people because your feelings got hurt. I saved that too. Then came a text. I was going to pay you back eventually. Then another. You never asked for money. Then another. Don't pretend you didn't like feeling important. I saved all of them. That evening, Gwen came over with takeout. She stood in my doorway holding Thai food and a bottle of sparkling water. I figured you might not be eating, she said. I stepped aside. We sat at my kitchen table. I told her enough, not all of it. I told her my name was on district paperwork. I told her I had never signed. I told her there was a review. Gwen closed her eyes. Oh my God. She told everyone I abandoned Evan. I know. Did you believe her? Gwen looked down at her hands. At first? A little. I'm sorry. I appreciated the honesty more than an easy denial. Why? Because Marissa is good at sounding exhausted, she said. And because people assume women without kids have extra time. I've probably assumed it too. That hurt, but it was clean. No performance. No excuse. I did have time, I said. That was the problem. People saw an opening and treated it like ownership. Gwen nodded. The parents are starting to talk, she said. About what? Marissa got very nervous today. She asked 3 people if Mr. Alvarez had called them. Then she told the board she might step back after the fundraiser season because of stress. She's trying to get ahead of it. Probably. She already had her recognition night. Gwen shifted in her chair. There's another one. What? The district spring showcase. Next Friday. Oakridge is being recognized for the playground fundraiser, and Marissa is supposed to speak. Parent Leader of the Year. I stared at her. Of course she was. Of course the woman who used my name to take district money was about to stand under stage lights and accept applause for service. Gwen reached across the table. Claire, what are you going to do? I thought about Marissa in the gym. Her smooth voice. Her clipboard. Her saying I had no real reason to go home. I'm going to let the district do its job, I said. And I meant it. Mostly. The next week moved slowly. Mr. Alvarez contacted my employer to verify work hours on the dates my signature appeared. He asked for permission first, and I gave it. My manager, Paula, walked over to my desk after the call and said, "Do I need to be angry on your behalf?" I said, "Maybe later." She nodded and printed my timecards herself. Denise gave a statement that she had processed the renewal packet and noticed irregularities. The after-school director confirmed I was not listed as Evan's authorized paid caregiver. The volunteer sign-in sheet showed my hours in the library, not childcare. The access logs showed I had not entered the building on 2 of the dates my signature had supposedly been added. Marissa kept texting. At first, she tried soft. Claire, I know things got tense, but we both care about kids. Then victim. You're trying to destroy me because I asked for help. Then threat. My husband knows a lawyer. Then insult. This is why people don't include outsiders in school communities. Outsider. That one sat with me. I had shelved books in that library while my mother was dying. I had read with children who had no one else coming to reading night. I had bought gloves for Evan. I had taped ripped copies of Charlotte's Web and written names on raffle tickets until my fingers cramped. But because I did not have a child enrolled there, Marissa could reduce me to outsider the moment I stopped being useful. Friday afternoon, the day of the district showcase, Mr. Alvarez called. Ms. Mason, he said. I wanted to let you know that you may attend tonight if you choose. There will be a brief meeting before the public program with Mrs. Cole, Principal Howard, and district administration. Do I need to be there? You are not required. But since your name and documentation are central to the review, you have the right to be present. My stomach tightened. Will Marissa be speaking tonight? There was a pause. The program has been adjusted. That was all he said. I left work at 5, went home, changed into black pants and a blue sweater, and drove to Oakridge with my folder on the passenger seat. The gym looked beautiful. That was the part that bothered me. The balloon arch was perfect. The student artwork hung in neat rows. The raffle baskets were wrapped in cellophane. The new playground renderings stood on easels near the stage. Parents filled the folding chairs, talking and laughing, unaware that beneath all that community pride, a file with my forged name was sitting in a district folder. I stood near the back. Gwen found me and squeezed my arm. You okay? No. Good answer. At 6:10, Denise appeared by the gym doors. Mr. Alvarez is ready. My legs felt strange as I followed her down the hallway to the conference room beside the office. Marissa was already there. So was Principal Howard. So was a woman I did not know, later introduced as Assistant Superintendent Karen Bell. Marissa wore a cream blazer and pearl earrings. Her hair was perfect. Her face was not. When she saw me, she stood. Why is she here? Mr. Alvarez remained seated. Ms. Mason has a right to be present. The documents identify her as a paid caregiver. Marissa laughed once. This is ridiculous. Claire helped me. I submitted paperwork. Maybe the wording wasn't perfect, but this is being blown completely out of proportion. Assistant Superintendent Bell opened a folder. Mrs. Cole, district funds were issued based on monthly statements that you paid Ms. Mason $400 for after-school care. I intended to, Marissa said quickly. I looked at her. She did not look at me. Ms. Bell's voice stayed even. You intended to pay her? Yes. We had an arrangement. No, I said. Everyone turned. I had not planned to speak yet, but the word came out by itself. Marissa's eyes flashed. Claire, don't. I looked at Mr. Alvarez. May I respond? He nodded. We did not have an arrangement. I was an unpaid library volunteer. Marissa repeatedly asked me to watch Evan as a favor while she did PTA work. I was never told district money was involved. I was never paid. I never signed those forms. Marissa folded her arms. You accepted the responsibility. I helped. You acted like a caregiver. I acted like an adult who didn't want her child sitting alone. Her mouth tightened. Mr. Alvarez placed copies of the forms on the table. Mrs. Cole, can you explain why Ms. Mason's signature appears on 7 caregiver verification pages? Marissa's voice changed. Softer. Controlled. Dangerous. I signed for her because she was hard to reach and the deadline was tight. Principal Howard closed his eyes. Ms. Bell said, you signed her name? Marissa realized what she had said 1 second too late. I mean, I filled out the form on her behalf. Did Ms. Mason authorize that? Marissa looked at me then. Really looked. For the first time since I had known her, she seemed to understand that I was not going to rescue her from the silence. No, she said. The room went still. Ms. Bell made a note. Mr. Alvarez slid another page forward. These access records show Ms. Mason was not in the building on November 14th, January 9th, or February 6th, the dates 3 forms were signed. Marissa said nothing. These timecards from Ms. Mason's employer show she was at work during 2 of those dates. Still nothing. These text messages show you referring to her help as favors, volunteer help, and community support. None mention payment. Marissa turned to Principal Howard. Mark, say something. He looked exhausted. I didn't know about the stipend forms. You knew Claire helped with Evan. I knew she helped, he said. I did not know you listed her as paid childcare. Marissa's face hardened. So now everyone's pretending they didn't benefit? No one spoke. She laughed, but there was no humor in it. That's rich. The school loved having Claire around. Everyone loved that she stayed late and bought supplies and filled gaps. But now I'm the villain because I found a way to make the system support the work. I felt my hands go cold. You didn't make the system support the work, I said. You made the system pay you for work I did. Marissa snapped her eyes to me. You never cared about the money until you got embarrassed. I cared when you used my name. You walked out on Evan. You were standing 10 feet away from him. You humiliated me. You forged my signature. Her face changed. There it was. The line she could not soften. Ms. Bell closed the folder. Mrs. Cole, pending completion of the review, you are suspended from handling PTA funds, district support applications, and any school-sponsored fundraising accounts. You will not speak on behalf of Oakridge tonight. Marissa stared at her. What? Principal Howard will address the program adjustment. No. I organized this entire event. And the district is grateful for legitimate volunteer efforts, Ms. Bell said. But you will not be recognized tonight. Marissa stood so fast her chair hit the wall. This is because of her. She pointed at me. Not like an accusation. Like a child identifying who broke the vase. I looked at her finger and then at her face. No, I said. This is because you thought my life was empty enough to write your lies on top of it. For once, she had no answer. From the gym, applause rose. The public program was starting. Marissa looked toward the sound like applause was something that had been stolen from her. Maybe it had. Maybe she had stolen it first. Ms. Bell told her she could remain in the building as a parent but not as a speaker or PTA representative. Marissa grabbed her purse and walked out of the room. Through the narrow conference room window, I watched her pass the gym doors. Parents turned. Whispers followed. Not loud. Not dramatic. Just enough. Principal Howard rubbed both hands over his face. Then he looked at me. Claire, he said, I owe you an apology. I did not make it easy for him. Yes, I said. You do. He swallowed. I should have asked more questions before pausing your volunteer access. Yes. I accepted Marissa's version because it was convenient. That was the first honest thing he had said all night. I nodded once. I appreciate you saying that. You're welcome back in the library whenever you're ready. I looked through the window at the hallway, at the bulletin boards, at the place that had held my grief and then handed my name to someone else. I'm not ready, I said. He looked sad, but he did not argue. That helped. The district showcase continued. Principal Howard went on stage and gave a short speech about the playground fundraiser. He did not mention Marissa by name. He thanked Oakridge families, teachers, students, and volunteers. Then he paused, looked down at his notes, and said something that had not been in the printed program. Tonight is also a reminder that volunteer service must be respected, documented, and never taken for granted. Our school will be reviewing all volunteer and reimbursement procedures to make sure the people who give their time are protected as well as appreciated. The gym went quiet. Not completely. Children still whispered. A baby fussed near the back. Someone's phone buzzed. But the adults understood enough. Several parents turned toward the side hallway where Marissa had disappeared. Gwen glanced back at me. I hated being seen. But I also hated how long I had been invisible. After the program, Ryan approached me in the hallway. Evan's father wore a firefighter department sweatshirt and looked confused in the way people look when they are realizing a family story has been edited before it reached them. Claire? Yes. I'm Evan's dad. I know. He rubbed the back of his neck. I didn't know she was asking you to watch him that much. I believed him. That surprised me. I figured, I said. She told me the district helped cover after-school support because of her PTA hours. I thought you were paid. I wasn't. His face tightened. I'm sorry. Thank you. He looked toward the gym where Evan was showing Gwen's daughters a bookmark. He really likes you. I really like him. I'm sorry he got put in the middle. So am I. Ryan nodded. Then he said, for what it's worth, I told Marissa months ago we should just pay for the regular after-school program 5 days a week. She said it looked bad if the PTA president couldn't manage her own kid during school events. There it was. Not poverty. Not desperation. Image. I looked at Evan, then back at Ryan. Children are not reputation problems, I said. Ryan looked down. No, he said. They're not. The formal review took 3 weeks. During that time, Oakridge changed shape. Marissa resigned from the PTA in an email that used the phrase personal attacks and family needs. The district froze reimbursement privileges for all PTA-related support funds until they could audit the process. Parents who had posted vague comments about unreliable volunteers quietly deleted them. The unknown number that had texted me never apologized. Gwen did. Denise did. Principal Howard did again, in writing. Marissa did not. Instead, she sent one final text. I hope you enjoy being right. Some of us actually had something to lose. I stared at that message for a long time. Then I typed back one sentence. So did I. I blocked her after that. The district's final letter came on a Thursday. Ms. Mason. The district compliance office has completed its review of parent support stipend records involving your name. The review determined that your name and signature were used without authorization on multiple caregiver verification forms submitted by Mrs. Marissa Cole. The district found no evidence that you received payment or consented to be listed as a paid caregiver. The district is taking corrective action, including recovery of improperly issued funds, revision of caregiver verification procedures, and temporary restriction of Mrs. Cole's eligibility for district-administered support reimbursements. We appreciate your cooperation. Regards. Martin Alvarez. I read it at my kitchen table. No fireworks. No dramatic music. Just a letter on district letterhead saying I had not imagined it. That mattered more than I expected. Later that afternoon, Principal Howard called. I know you said you weren't ready, he said, but I wanted you to hear this from me. The PTA board voted to reimburse your supply receipts. I looked at the blue envelope on the counter. All of them? All documented school-related purchases, yes. Good. And we're creating a new policy. Volunteers can submit receipts directly to the office. No more holding them through committee chairs. Good. He paused. Claire, the library isn't the same without you. That one hurt. I looked at my mother's old bookmarks stacked on the table. I miss the library, I said. We miss you. I didn't say I was coming back. I know. After we hung up, I sat quietly for a while. Then I took the blue envelope, wrote Oakridge receipts on the front, and placed it beside my door so I could drop it off. The next morning, I went to the school before work. Denise met me at the front office window. I handed her the envelope. She handed me a visitor sticker. I smiled. I'm not staying. I know, she said. Then she reached under the desk and pulled out something small. My volunteer badge. Claire Mason. Library helper. I thought you might want it. I looked at it. For 4 years, that badge had felt like belonging. Then it had become proof that nobody had the right to call me childcare. Now it felt like both. I took it from her. Thank you. In the hallway, I passed the library. The door was open. A class of first graders sat on the rug while the substitute librarian read from a picture book. One boy in the back whispered to another. A girl in pink sneakers raised her hand before the question was finished. Sunlight came through the windows and landed on my mother's portrait. The blue vase was still beside the circulation desk. This time, there were yellow tulips in it. I stopped. Denise noticed. I put them there this morning, she said softly. I thought Linda would want them. For a moment, the hallway blurred. She would, I said. A little girl near the rug turned and looked at me. I did not know her name. She whispered something to the boy beside her, and he looked too. For a moment, I almost went in. Then I did not. I walked to the return bin outside the library door. There was a stack of books waiting to be checked in, a pencil without an eraser, and a crumpled flyer for the spring showcase. I set the volunteer badge gently on top of the flyer. Not because I hated the place. Because I loved it enough to stop letting it take pieces of me without noticing. As I turned to leave, Evan came around the corner with his class. He stopped. "Miss Claire?" The teacher looked startled. I smiled. "Hey, space expert." He looked at the badge in the return bin, then at me. "Are you not coming back?" Children ask clean questions. Adults make fog. Children open windows. "I'm taking a break," I said. "My mom said you got her in trouble." The teacher froze. I crouched a little so I was closer to his height. "Your mom made some choices that had consequences," I said carefully. "That's between grown-ups. It's not your fault." He looked down at his shoes. "I miss reading with you." My throat tightened. "I miss reading with you too." He reached into his backpack and pulled out a folded piece of paper. "I made you this." It was a drawing of Saturn. The rings were crooked. At the bottom, in pencil, he had written, "Miss Claire knows all the good books." I held it with both hands. "Thank you," I said. "I'm going to keep this." He nodded, serious. Then his teacher guided the class forward. I walked out of Oakridge with a drawing of Saturn in my purse and no badge on my sweater. That Saturday morning, I woke up at 7 because my body still thought there were tables to set up, prize bags to fill, children to meet at pickup doors. For a few minutes, I lay still and listened. No alarm. No texts. No one asking if I could just swing by. No one telling me a child was disappointed because I had a life. I made coffee. I drank it while it was still hot. Then I drove to the farmer's market downtown. It was small, just 2 rows of tents beside the courthouse lawn. A man sold honey. A teenager played guitar badly near the fountain. An older woman arranged tulips in metal buckets. I bought yellow ones. At home, I put them in a glass vase on my kitchen table. Then I took Evan's Saturn drawing from my purse and placed it on the fridge with a magnet. My phone buzzed once. "Gwen. A few of us are starting a weekend reading group at the public library. No PTA, no fundraising, no childcare nonsense. Just books. Only if you ever want to." I smiled. "Not yet," I typed. Then, after a moment, I added, "But maybe someday." I set the phone face down. The apartment was quiet. For years, I had mistaken being needed for being loved. I had let people praise my reliability while stepping over my boundaries. I had believed that because I had no children, no husband, no noisy house waiting for me, I had to prove my life was still full by filling it with everyone else's emergencies. Marissa had not created that belief. She had simply found it and used it. That was the part one had to face without blaming her for all of it. But she was wrong about one thing. My life had never been empty. It had just been too available. That morning, I took my coffee to the small balcony outside my apartment. The tulips glowed yellow through the kitchen window. Cars moved along the street below. Somewhere, a dog barked. Somewhere else, a child laughed. For the first time in years, nobody was waiting for me to unlock a gym, watch a child, tape a poster, fix a problem, or be grateful for the chance to be useful. Saturday morning belonged to me. And I did not feel selfish. I felt free.